we will move on to the next game. Uh, we talked about Detroit. We'll keep it in the division. Great win last week for Green Bay. They actually head to Jacksonville this week. Jacksonville coming back from London after staying there for 2 weeks. Uh, right now, I believe Green Bay is favored by 4.5 points. Trevor Lawrence had his best game of the season last year, or this season, versus New England last week. I loved how he played with a full week in London to get right. Again, it seems like it's almost like mistakes are the only thing holding Jacksonville back, but they just make too many mistakes. So it's tough to think, I'll say, tough to think that they'd have any success right now versus Green Bay after what we saw Green Bay's defense due to a really, really productive Houston Texans team. Um, I do have to shout out the defensive coordinator, Jeff Hafley. He's been phenomenal all year. And then Brandon McManus. I know last week we were talking about Narvison, how we were almost
I wish
like,
he was still the kicker.
yeah, we were
He would
almost
have missed the game winner. And it would have
we
been
were almost asking for him to be cut last week, and sure enough he was. And then we talked about it on group chat. I think Jordan Love is the second coming of Brett Favre. The decisions that he makes. Thoughts on this game? I'm going to take Green Bay money line. I think Jacksonville can put up a fight. I definitely think it'll be a 5-point game. What are your thoughts on this game?
I don't see this being a 5-point game. I think there's way too many questions for the Jacksonville secondary, especially. I lean Green Bay. I do kind of lean the over on this one too. I mean, we've seen the connection with Trevor Lawrence and Brian Thomas. In the emergence of Tank Bigsby out of the backfield. And Christian Kirk obviously is the tough, smart, dependable there. But they still have the weapons to move the ball down the field. I think Green Bay is going to win. I think Jacksonville can make it a game in terms of possibly pushing towards the over, but I don't see them pulling this one out. And
real quick, Mike. To that point, I just want to say we should see Tyson Campbell back. Deshaun Gibson
he
is
played
off
last
of,
week, right? Campbell?
Yeah, he did. He did play last week, and then we should see Deshaun Gibson back. He is coming off of an 8-game suspension, so keep that in mind. But go ahead, Mike. Yeah, go ahead. I do see what you're saying.
Yeah, no, I mean, getting those names back, especially in the secondary. I think one of the big issues is that the pressure that they're able to generate on the defensive side of the ball in terms of off the defensive line has really been a weakness for them. And I think Green Bay is this also might just be when you look black and white at the coaches. Doug Peterson saved his job last week. I don't know if that's going to be sustainable because he's going to be coaching for his job every week now. Sure. I think Matt LaFleur has this team playing inspired football. I think he said they're 3-1 in their last 4 games. Jordan Love really has them moving the ball down the field. I mean, I like Green Bay in this one.
Yeah, that was definitely an up spot for Jacksonville. I mean, if you were going to bet Jacksonville, that was the time to do it against New England. Yeah. This game's a little bit more tricky. I can honestly see both avenues. Like, I could see Jacksonville covering. I could also see Green Bay winning by more than 5 points. Sure. I think the avenue for Jacksonville obviously has to be they have to be opportunistic. I don't think it's good to get those guys back in the secondary. I still don't think this is a very good defense. Sure. But if they can, stop the run, don't let Josh Jacobs go crazy, make Jordan Love make mistakes. And you mentioned it, Mike. They weren't able. They're not great at getting pressure. If they can get pressure this week, make Jordan Love make mistakes, I think that Jacksonville offense can hang around. I think they can hang around. Now, granted, I could see it going the other way. Green Bay, outside of the turnovers, they largely, I think, they should have won by more than 2 points against the Texans. I think they should have. They could have. If Jordan Love throws one interception and they don't muff a punt, I think they possibly win that game by multiple scores.
Okay.
So I think that's a good win for Green Bay. They gave Houston the ball in plus position so many times. That was really the only reason the game was close. A little bit of it, I would say, underwhelming performance for their offense last week. Only 24 points, but they moved the ball. I think it's definitely like taking the donut off of the bat, going from the Texans defense to Jacksonville's defense.
Sure.
And you guys mentioned Jeff Hafley, huge upgrade defensive coordinator. That defense,
Oh, yeah.
again, I don't think they're as talented as other Green Bay defenses in the past, but they certainly Rashawn Gary is a very good pass rusher.
Yeah. McKinney too. McKinney's been playing
McKinney's
phenomenal.
really good. Obviously, they have Jair Alexander. So, I think the spot where Jacksonville was going to be up was last week, having the advantage of being in London. Now they go back home. They cross the Atlantic. Obviously, Green Bay has to go down to Florida. So, I mean, rest advantage kind of null there. But I could see it going either way. I could see Jacksonville keeping it close. I don't have an opinion on the side. I'm with you, Mike. I kind of like the over in this game. I'm
And
not sure what the number's at, but I can see both teams moving the football.
One guy I want to shout out for Green Bay is Tucker Kraft. I mean, we've seen.
Yes, we know, Mike. He's your bulletin board favorite.
That's another touchdown. That's 4 touchdowns in 7 games for the guy.
The ball should have been picked off. It went right through Kalen Bullock's hands.
Where did it end up? I know it was right through his hands.
Yeah, Kalen Bullock's been playing great football for the Texans. I should have been less doom and gloom and actually shouted out guys that played well. Kalen Bullock, shout out to you. Way to step in as a rookie and be a contributor at safety. I know I just basically summed up the defense as like they're fine. But yeah, shout out Kalen Bullock. But yes, Jordan Love will put the ball in harm's way. He did it plenty. And if he does it again,
that's my concern.
Jackson, it's a warranted concern. I mean, he will. We were talking about Jameis earlier. He'll throw it. Jordan Love will throw it, and he's definitely more Brett Favre than Aaron Rodgers in that respect.
Yeah.
Look, I think the market might be telling you Jacksonville. Jacksonville's record obviously isn't good. This is under a touchdown. Only 4.5 points. I guess Jacksonville's at home, so they're saying that the Packers are, 5 points, 5.5 points better. I kind of feel like I see some value there in Jacksonville, just from the line perspective. But we shall see. Interesting game for sure. I think Jacksonville. Look, I mean, the division, if the Texans keep messing around and if the Texans lose to Indy this week, they've got a harder schedule coming up. I don't think Indy is long for the division race.
Right.
Maybe Jacksonville can sneak back into it. They're a team that's been known to get hot before. They won 8 games in a row, a couple years ago.
And Trevor, I mean, he finished.
What a dichotomy Trevor is, man.
Yeah.
That's such an interesting spot.
No turnover worthy plays last week. He played phenomenal.
Yeah. Granted, it was against New England, so I'm not sold on Trevor yet. But look, they're going to be rocking with him for the future. They gave him $200 million. This is a team that's gotten hot before. I wouldn't count them out entirely.
Sure.
And I think Green Bay can. If Green Bay lets them, they will hang around. I think if Green Bay plays their absolute best game, they'll cover. But the likelihood of that, I don't know. I wouldn't say it's like a sure thing.